You're now tuned into the Filthy Parent Podcast. Filthy! Where we discuss all things parenting. The good, the bad, and the filthy.
Teenagers. Drama!
Grab a drink, kick your feet up, and let's get into it.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the podcast. I am your host, Maurice Moore. Yeah, they call me the Space Cowboy. They call me the Gangster of Love. They call me all kinds of things. You can call me Mo, or you can call me Maurice, or whatever you feel. But I am the host of this show, and here we go. So, check it out. I keep hearing this stuff about bullies on TV, right? About bullies on TV. So, what we're going to talk about today is we're going to start a new podcast series, a little short mini-series on bullying. And today, what we're going to do is we're going to start with identifying if your child is a bully. No, that's not right. First, we're going to start with identifying if your child is a victim. Then, we're going to identify if your child is a bully. And then we're going to talk about preventing bullying in the first place, okay? So, that seems to be the big issue here, is preventing bullying. But, in order to prevent bullying, parents need to pay attention to their children, right? On two fronts. First thing, you need to identify if your child's a victim. Secondly, you need to identify if your child is the bully. And what is a bully? A bully can be anything, right? A bully can be a cheerleader. A bully could be the star football player. Could be anybody. But a bully is anybody that makes another person uncomfortable, right? For any reason. You want to make somebody uncomfortable just because it makes you feel better. Yeah, they want to make people uncomfortable because they don't like the way they look, the way they smell, the way they sound, where they live, maybe the neighborhood they grew up in. But there's no sense in a bully existing. There's no sense at all. So we need to go ahead and knock this down. We're going to go ahead and take care of this bullying stuff once and for all, right? We're just going to take over the world. We're going to make this podcast great. And we're going to take over the world and make sure bullying never happens again. That's what we're going to do here, right? You guys know that's not going to happen. But we are going to help identify if your child is a victim or not, because that's the key thing. Is your child a victim? Well, how would you identify it? How would you figure that out? How would you know if your child is a victim of bullying or not? Let's talk about little kids first, right? So the number one way that you find out if your child is being bullied or not, and you guys already know the answer to this, is to ask them, right? But the key thing is, you can't just ask them, hey, are you being bullied, right? That doesn't work, So, one of the things you have to do is kind of talk to your child, right? You have to have these daily conversations with your child and really get to know your child, right? Get to know their daily routine. Get to know the ins and outs of who they hang out with on a daily basis at school. So, what you do is, and for the parents that are having trouble with this is really what what we're here for, is, you just talk to your kid. You say, hey, you pick them up from school and you have a conversation, right? In the car, or maybe if you don't pick them up from school, maybe you do it over dinner or something like that, right? Maybe during reading time before bed. Anytime, you just have a conversation with your child. You say, hey, how was school today? I do that with my daughter, or my son. I say, hey, I picked them up from school and they're in the car, and, I say, hey, Shania, how was school today? And she'll tell me, oh, it was good. I did this and I did that, blah, 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 gibberish. And then my son, same thing, right? She's 8, he's 6. I ask them the same thing. They're in the back and they tell me what they did at school. And then I ask them individually, who they hung out with today, what they did, who they sat next to at lunch, what they ate at lunch, what their friend ate at lunch. And that opens the conversation, right? And then you kind of figure out if they didn't sit next to anybody at lunch today, or if they didn't play with anybody at recess, or, if something's happening, something is off, you'll know over time. Because basically, you have these same conversations every day, right? And that's really how you get to know your child. You have a conversation with them every day. And if that conversation changes, if they start to say, I didn't sit with Sally today, or I didn't sit with Johnny today, and, who did they sit with? And they say they didn't sit with anybody, and you ask them why, and then they kind of, maybe they just had a falling out, right? But do kids really have a falling out? right? I mean, you just don't know. But you have to ask them, right? You have to talk to your child. And the more you talk to your child, the more you'll know. The more you'll know about their social situation and, at school and the bus stop or, on the bus or whatever. So just, have a discussion with your child and you'll start to know. You'll start to pick up on their mannerisms and their triggers and little things that they say that will be key words, to let you know that something is up, right? Something is not like it was. The other thing is kids do have some kind of physical triggers too. They get tummy aches, right? They get tummy aches when they something worries them. There's a bully at school. They might not want to go to school and they get a tummy ache in the morning. Well, guess what? They might not want to go to school because they know there's something bad at school waiting for them, something that they don't like. So they'll get a tummy ache or fake a tummy ache or what have you, just so they don't have to go to school. And it might be a real tummy ache. It might not be faking it. So, it's just one of those things where you have to know your child, and you know your child by talking to your child, spending time with them. That's how you figure that out. Now, let's talk about the older children. Let's talk about the tweens and the teens, right? So with them, a lot of it is social media, right? So you have social media, sports, things like that, where you start to see bullying come from different angles. So you have to kind of spend time talking to your child as well, but you have to monitor that social media, man. That's how you identify if your child's a victim, when they're teens and tweens, is you really have to identify who they talk to as friends or foes, right? Yeah, believe it or not, your kids have foes, even at, 12, 13, 14. So you have to pay attention to that. You have to make sure that you are monitoring their social media, monitoring their circles, their friends, get to know them, get to know their friends, get to know everybody that they hang out with and their social circles, and you'll start to figure out if your child is a victim, because that's what we're trying to do. We want to identify if your child's a victim or not. Talk to your child and you'll find out. I mean, there's nothing else to it. Talk to your child, talk to your child, talk to your child. Parents don't want to do that. Parents come home, they cook dinner or they bring dinner home from whatever fast food place, and they sit down around the table and they ask, how was school? And their child says, it was fine. And then that's it. But you don't know that your child's been bullied 3-4 times today, because your child's not going to tell you, Daddy, I've been bullied. Mommy, I've been bullied. They don't tell. They won't tell. That's not how it works, right? You got 10-year-olds hanging themselves in the closet, okay? So they don't tell. They need you to pull that out of them, right? They're depending on you to pull that out of them, okay? So make sure that you're talking to your children, and you'll be able to identify if they're the victim or not, right? And in the next episode, right, we try to keep these short, but in the next episode, we're gonna talk about how to identify if your child is a bully, right? There's two sides to every coin. If you have a victim, obviously there's another child that's a bully. And some of your children are bullies. You just don't know it. That's obviously somebody's child is the bully, or else we wouldn't be having this conversation right now, right? So in the next episode, we're going to go ahead and get into how to identify if your child is a bully or not. And that's if you don't know, you'll know soon. Hey, make sure you like and subscribe, and make sure that you like our Facebook page. That one, the Facebook. Make sure you like the Facebook, and make sure you like and subscribe to YouTube, and I'll see you on the next one.
Now that we're drinking buddies, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this podcast with fellow parents or your teenager's babysitter.
I love this. I love this.
Follow us on IG, Facebook, and YouTube, and email us at daddymyway@gmail.com.